Hey, everybody, welcome back. We are here with another episode of the Wisconsin Investor Podcast. And today I've got brothers on here, Mr. Reese and Kyle Brown. What's up, boys?
How we doing?
How we doing?
We're doing excited to have this conversation with you guys. And today, audience, you guys are going to be in for a treat because these guys have kind of a diverse group of things, I guess, that have happened or are happening. And I would say maybe a little newer to the real estate world too. So for those of you guys that are newer to the space, hopefully this will give you guys some insights on next steps for you going into this new year with some new goals. If you're listening to this as it drops, and this should be a lot of fun. I guess first and foremost, Kyle, congratulations, just had a baby, correct?
Correct. That is correct. He is 2 weeks old as of today.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's going to influence some of your real estate decisions in this next year. Let's start with that. Like, how does having a new addition in the family maybe change some of what you had been maybe
Yeah,
looking to do previously to what's the shift going into this next year?
for sure. I mean, honestly, I think, I feel very, very happy with where we're at right now. And in terms of our real estate, where we're at, I mean, just kind of setting him up for the future, with, we, like you said, we're fairly new to this real estate investing, stuff with, got like 3 years under my belt, but, setting him up for the future and having this real estate that's, cash flowing a little right now, but in the future, ideally, once the mortgages and everything paid off, we're going to have a nice little fund for him, whether he wants to use it for, college or whatever. But, I think this, this investing in real estate is huge, just putting my mind at ease, having a little guy at home, and not having it in the market where, who knows what,
Yeah, market's been hot the last couple of years, but who knows? I mean, you're one tweet away from losing half your
Exactly.
your
Having that solid concrete land that you can call your own. I mean, that just puts me at ease. And I think, it's going to be huge as we grow our family.
for sure. So I want to stay with this quick, and then Reese, I'll tackle some stuff with like maybe you guys and the partnership and stuff like that. But when you got into real estate, Kyle, was this a focus? Was that part of the reason you got into it? Was you were thinking of the future of family planning, or is this new kind of perspective more recent since having the child?
No. I mean, honestly, it just a big influence on me was Grant Cardone. I followed
Mhm.
him, through college, and just, watching how he's kind of grown and developed in the real estate industry. And I've always thought, if I could get into that space, I'd want to. And, I think nothing against what my parents have done. They've been very successful financially, but they're majority of their net worth is in the market, is on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that kind of scared me, looking at just having, you never know, like you said, one bad tweet away from, so I like the idea of diversifying. I have some money in my 401k. I have a lot of money in the market, but I think having that concrete land that
Mhm.
can, no one, once it's yours, right?
Yeah.
And yes, the market can fluctuate there as well, but if you look at the trends, I think, real estate, I don't know. It's gold. It's gold.
Yeah.
They only make so much of it, right? They
Right.
only make so much of it. So I think I've always had that in the back of my mind of, I really want to diversify and get into this real estate. And then, we picked up our first property, through Wisconsin Discount Properties. And, it just clicked. It was like, we were so scared to pull the trigger. We pulled the trigger and it was like, oh my gosh, we put a lot of sweat equity into it. We needed to really do some remodeling on it.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just like, wow, this is the real deal. And then from there, it's just kind of snowballed. I think that first deal was tough, but once we got that first one under our belt, I mean, and it's like, the number, it's just math, right? It's just numbers, just math and numbers. So it's like, your numbers work, and Reese is really good on that side of things. We can talk about that with how we do it with the brothers. But I mean, if the numbers work, the numbers work, right? Like it's not, you don't have to be subjective. You can be very objective about it and just look at the numbers and go from there. And that's kind of where, we've gone with it.
That's awesome. I think one of the things you mentioned there, I want to highlight, at Wisconsin Discount Properties, we used to do walkthroughs for the properties. Like people could physically show up
Yep.
and walk through the property. We've really gone away from that after COVID happened. It kind of made us go away from it.
Yeah.
And then what we found is so many of the investors, even first timers, it took away a lot of the emotional part of the decision. Like when
Oh,
people
100%. I 100% agree with you. Yep.
Yep.
Because you don't look at those, you don't go into this property, and these properties are not going to be perfect. There's going to be
No.
little things that are wrong with them.
Mhm.
And when you go see it in person, then you start having all these little flags like, oh, how am I going to fix that piece of trim? How am I going to fit, like you don't even have to deal with it because you don't see it, which is actually a good thing because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Those little things don't matter.
Yeah. So we do the inspection reports, all the big stuff you got to take care of. And then you got a video walkthrough, which you still get to see layout. You get to see, age of stuff and all that, but you're not seeing all the little nicks and dings and that kind of stuff typically. And you're looking at it more objectively. And then people who get comfortable with that system, I always said I wanted to set it up so people could, evaluate a deal while taking a poop instead of, looking at Facebook while they're sitting on the can. They can make some money while they're sitting on the can.
I'll say the inspection reports to that point. Like we get them from a third party person. It's not someone internally that's doing these. And I would 100% trust someone licensed to do an inspection over myself, who I don't know too much at all about how a house is built or functions. So
yeah.
Well, another thing to highlight just with buying through a wholesaler or buying through Wisconsin Discount Properties that like I literally just found out about, not found out about, but I met with my tax professional, which is huge. So I can write off that closing cost, that big closing cost that you with a wholesaler, because wholesaler needs to make money too, right? You have a closing cost for commission. That closing cost, you can write that off in taxes, which is huge, I mean, if you think about, we don't have to get into specific numbers, but like it is huge in terms of getting your taxable income down. Right. Sure. So like my goal is to buy from a wholesaler at least as we grow our LLCs at minimum one a year, because you're minimizing your tax burden.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even think that was a thing. So if you you could go buy a house on the market for $100,000, right? Say you pay Wisconsin Discount Properties that same $100,000, but you probably have maybe $10,000 whatever closing costs. You can write that 10 off, which is huge.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, Kyle, we'll send you a check in the mail after this for that little plug, because that was great. And I just learned something there as well. So you mentioned the first one that you guys pulled the trigger on. That one, it sounded like from the language you were using, Kyle and Reese, that sounds like that's a partnership deal that you and your other brother. So the three brothers are in on this deal.
Yep.
Talk to me about like why have a partnership and what value are each of you guys bringing? How are you setting that up so that Thanksgiving and Christmas isn't awkward if and when we have to divest this? Like, was there anything you guys did on the front end
for sure
really make sure and talk about
for sure? Yeah, I mean, me, Reese, and my older brother Colin, we've always been tight, right? So we have that bond and that trust, right? I think the trust is the big thing. That's the number one thing, right? You're not going to go into a partnership with anybody, I think, if you don't have that trust. So we've always had that. And then, on the front end, we really did our due diligence in setting it up in terms of everyone has their set out responsibilities written in our LLC operating agreement. And we sat down and really dived in and talked about each, individual's role in the business, so that I agree. So there are because we all know those stories of families who are torn apart, right? Like
for sure.
When we went into that with that mindset of like, the last thing we want to do is make a couple $1,000 and ruin our relationship, right?
For sure.
So that was a big thing for us, and we had that all laid out, right? So
we have it all written down. I'm looking at it right now, Kyle, and we have it all written down into our duties. We're all compensated, right? Kyle does the property management, so he has, he gets 5% of the income every month from rents. He gets a certain percentage when he, finds a new tenant. I get a certain percentage for, doing all the financing on the back end. Colin, when he has to go and, do some maintenance on the property, he gets a certain amount for the first hour, then continued on. And it's all written out, and then we all signed it. So
perfect. Perfect. Now, do you guys have anything in your operating agreement or when you guys set this up of like, if somebody wants out, how does that look for you guys? And what was that discussion like? Like one of the brothers wants to be out of this partnership or needs to liquidate something or needs some cash out of it or something like that.
Yeah, so we've talked about that. It's mostly the way that it's been set up right now, though, is so for Kyle and for Colin, they would be the ones to sell first because they're older than me.
Okay.
And they like the purchases, the intention of the purchases for Colin so far have been one's for one kid, one's for the other kid.
Okay.
So that's like with that in mind, we're not too worried about that. But that being said, we always with 3 people, we can discuss that with voting because there's an odd number. So that's another thing that we've kept in mind. But that's a good point for us to maybe consider, you know, as we review this annually. Kyle and I just had a conversation about percentages and what we want to do going forward. Something to bring up here earlier rather than later.
Well, do you guys feel like having 3 is an advantage over having a partnership of 2?
Oh, 100%. I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think the big advantage, we all just bring a certain unique thing to the partnership, right? Where Colin, our oldest brother, he's very he's an engineer, mechanical engineer. Like the guy can fix pretty much anything. He can look at something and evaluate it and know like, hey, this is out of my scope. You know, let's call somebody, or hey, 9 times out of 10, he can handle it. Nice. Right. And, you know, I think, and then what I bring to the table is, you know, I'm in sales. I deal with people all day, every day. So I deal with our tenants. I deal with that side of things. And then Reese is so good with numbers and Excel and finance. He can bring that. So I think having us 3, we all kind of bring our own special thing to the table, which I think is huge. Right. And like Reese said too, you have a disagreement with 2, it's 50-50, right? We have a third, you know, if 2 people are having a disagreement, we can bring in a third guy who's kind of, you know, maybe he has a different perspective. And, know, so I think having all 3 of us there, we can, if there is a disagreement, we figure it out because there's 3 of us, right?
That's really interesting because I know a lot of partnerships are 2 people. It's easy to get 2 people together and go do something. I also think there's some disadvantages to having partnerships, right? What are some of the disadvantages if you guys have noticed any so far? I mean, for you guys, it's pretty new and fresh, but go ahead, Reese.
I know the first one, our first property we got was wildly successful, and to now only own a third of it kind of sucks.
Yeah,
so that's like, honestly, it was like, at first it was really nice because I wasn't, you know, there's not as much risk involved. I got, you know, Kyle and Colin doing a lot of the work with me.
Yeah.
But then once you refinance it, it sucks when your check is not what it could be.
Yeah. Yes and no, but you mitigate your risk, right? I think by having that partnership, right? Like I think it's easier for all of us to sleep at night in terms of knowing, hey, we all got each other's back too, right? But obviously your cash flow. I mean, when it's 100% yours, it's
true. On the flip side, though, if Reese, I'll be devil's advocate. Now I'll go to the partnership benefit. Something goes wrong, big expense. Now you only share a third of that, right? There's it's both sides of the coin. I know that with HOAs, I hate being in HOAs. Like our office is in an HOA, and I hate it. But then, like when there's something wrong with our exterior of our building, I'm like, oh, well, everybody else has to pitch in for this special assessment too. It's kind of nice, right? You know, so it's kind of similar to that. Now with the properties you guys have, how many properties are in the partnership?
7 units.
3, two duplexes and then a triplex. So 3. Okay. Yeah. So no, like we said, I mean, we started, when did we buy the first one? 2022, 2022
refinance in 23. And then the other ones are in 2023 as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. When you guys set up this partnership, that was all of your first purchase was in the partnership. And then
I had a duplex that I was living in. Yeah. I was living in one side, with the other. So that was me and my wife's first rental property. But it was our first home too.
Okay. Little house hack action.
Yeah.
Outside of just without house hacking, this would be the first. So when you guys set this up and like when you had the partnership going, what was the vision for this partnership? Did you guys have a long-term, like we want to have X amount of units or we want to get to this part? And then you guys each have kind of branched off and done some of your own things now. So talk about like how that evolved and how do you guys decide what to put in the partnership and what not to, and that sort of thing.
I think our vision really was just getting in the game, right? Like I had the one that was house hat, or I was living in one and renting out the other. And I had kind of learned how to be a property manager. I bought that in 2020. And I was, living right there was so nice because, my tenant's right there, right? I kind of learned the ins and outs of being a property manager. And then that first one, I think we just really wanted to get in the game, right? We had been following you, following some other real estate guys, and we just wanted to get in the game. We didn't really have a plan in terms of, 5 years, 10 years out. We want to get that first property. And we had been looking, and that one came up, and we ran the numbers, and we all kind of we were able to purchase that one with just all of us pooling in our cash. So we were very, very conservative in terms of, we didn't want that hard money loan on our shoulders.
Sure.
We had never done anything. So we just that's another, we were all able to pool in our cash and just buy it straight out with cash.
That's awesome.
And we didn't have to have any of the other stresses. Like we got it done in a timely manner in terms of the rehab and getting it rented out. But that was huge for us, just with it being our first one, being able to pool our resources and kind of come in on it together and not have that hard money loan kind of, weighing on your shoulders.
Yeah, that's huge, especially like you said, first one. If you guys have that ability to not have to get it done in 6 months or less, and
exactly, and
we have the kneecaps taken out.
Looking back, Corey, we should have, we probably could have gotten the hard, because we got it done in like 4 months. We probably could have done the hard money loan.
Mm-hmm.
We probably should have hired out a lot of the work because we'd have gotten rented it sooner, and probably, we probably should have done it that way looking back, and been way less work, and we would have not had to, take all our cash off the market. But it just helped us. It helped us, I think, mentally to tackle it,
Yeah. Reese, what were you saying? You could have started earlier.
I'm saying we could have started, with the amount of cash we ended up bundling up and saving, we could have started 2 years prior to when we got that first one, if we would have used, hard money. So
no, I agree. Nice, I think we were super conservative. We were, and I think that's what we needed to do to make the leap though. Right. So I don't think we would have done it, but looking back, we definitely could have gone hard money. We could have, hired out a lot of the work to get it rented sooner, and we would have ended up right where we're at,
Did you guys pivot then to the next one when you went on to the next one?
Correct.
Then you went
correct. The next one was so much easier on us. I mean, that first one, every single weekend we were there. We did everything.
It's a good way to bond. It's a good way to bond as brothers.
Yeah, no, it was right. I mean, there were some weekends where we didn't want to be there, but I mean, then the next one we did, I mean, Reese, you tell me, I mean, that one, we gutted the whole thing in 1 week,
month.
And then we hired out pretty much everything. We hired, and we were able to turn it so much quicker, where our numbers afterwards, we maybe spent maybe $1,000 more in terms of just, but we were able to turn it so much quicker with hiring out guys to come during the weekday and do work.
Well,
it was so much easier on us too, because we had our weekends back.
There's a metric I always like to look at and talk to investors about. It's like profit per hour. And when you're, in the long-term rental game, it's a little bit different because you're looking more at like projected equity that you've gained and that kind of thing when you're doing these refis and stuff, but it's still the same exercise, right? Like you look at like how much equity did you gain? You probably gained more equity if I had to guess on the first one, but you put a lot more work and a lot more time in, and your profit per hour is probably way lower.
For sure.
A smaller chunk of equity, but you can turn it so much quicker that then that velocity of money starts to snowball, and you can start doing more deals and build more assets and get tenants eating your debt quicker and all that other stuff. So I love that. Now, you guys did some seller financing on some of these, right? So was it all, you did the cash thing, so it must not have been on that one. Was it on the other two, or how?
Yeah, Reese, you can talk.
Yeah, we did. Then the next two duplexes we got were under the same seller financing umbrella, and then I bought one with a different partner around that same time as well. I guess, what do you want me to hit on that in what way?
Well, talk about like how did the deal come to be? Were those deals that we provided at WDP?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what was when you were looking at those, what was the enticing piece, and like how did you evaluate that from a seller financing perspective versus, you know, the other one where you were evaluating it, looking at it from a cash or, you know, refinancing after the
Yeah.
cash perspective?
Yeah, I started learning, you know, once I started learning about seller financing, I think the biggest positive for me is I realized when I eventually will sell my properties, I want to sell them as seller financing. So if I believe this is a good
Mm,
product, this is a good product for the seller, I reverse engineered it to, okay, that's how you can set it up when you're going to talk to someone who's got a duplex, owns it outright. You're like, hey, these are all the reasons why this is beneficial, right? You got your capital gains tax, you can defer that. If you're talking to someone who's going to retire in, say, 5 years, um, they want to be in a lower tax bracket when they retire,
yeah.
or when they sell this property, right? So that's one of the benefits. I think some of the other ones is
Reese,
the
though,
money.
what was the big thing for us though in terms of, I mean, why did we do seller? I honestly don't even know. Was the rate a lot better?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. So
Hey, you know
I'm
what I
telling you
love
though
about that
why.
question, real quick, Kyle, is that this is truly why you guys are a partnership. You're like, Reese, I don't even know what did we do? Like, this is why you
So
have a good partnership, right?
yeah. So they will have delayed capital gains tax. The next thing that they're going to have is the seller is over this time period of we set it up as a 30-year amortization, right? So the loan term is over 30 years, but a 5-year balloon. So we're going to pay off this loan after 5 years, kind of like an arm
Yep.
in that sense, but
Yep.
we refinance. And in that 5 years, I am paying a lot of interest as the buyer. So here, another reason why it's starting to sound like, why would I do this as the buyer?
Yeah.
And the reason being is I'm going to be able to pay a lower down payment.
Okay.
Right. That's one of the reasons why we did it, Kyle. Second reason is lower interest rate. When we cut the bank out of it, instead of paying 7.5, I'm paying 5% interest. Instead of the seller getting 4% in their savings, they're getting 5% from me. And so I'm low money into the deal, a nice interest rate, cash flowing well. And I have 5 years now to renovate the units, 5 years of appreciation on this piece of real estate. So it's kind of like a no-brainer when you start to break it down on both ends, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seller financing is such a awesome vehicle to get into some properties. I picked one up this year, and I had some 1031 money, and so I reached out to some of my network and just let them know, hey, I've got 1031 money. If anybody's got a duplex or side by side duplex they're looking to sell or whatever. And the lady I had done a deal with prior on seller financing reached out, and so I went and looked at the duplex, and it needed some work, and it was a nice little side by side. And I was like, I really don't want to put 20% down on this thing. Like, do you need the cash? And she was like, not really. I was like, okay. So I said, I don't really want to put any money into it though. Like, my whole idea of a 1031 is like, I don't want to take all my money that I have sitting on the sidelines and put it in. What if I just gave you this price and didn't give you a down payment? And she's like, well, you know, she kind of fought me on it for a little bit. And I was just like, all right. I didn't really care if I got it or not. So that's a great position to be in as well, being able to walk away. And then she's like, well, what if you could give me, you know, she wanted another like 5 or 10 grand on the purchase price, which was like, okay.
Sure.
And no money down. All right. What the heck?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
The purchase price just doesn't matter.
So explain that a little farther, Corey. So you did a 1031 exchange and you just set up a percentage.
No, I had a 1031 to use, and that was kind of what got us to start talking. Was I just said, hey, I got a 1031, I need to buy something.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And then when I went and met with her, she, you know, she wanted me to put 20% down and do all that stuff. And I was like, well, I don't really want to for this property. Like, I'll just give you some more money to there we go. Back cut out there, internet. Thanks a lot.
No, you just said, so you're explaining.
He's up in Sturgis.
Okay, we're back.
No internet up there.
Nope.
In the North Woods.
No internet up here. I don't know where we left off, but hopefully we can.
No, you were explaining the 1031 where she wanted you to put 20% down on the place, but you didn't want to. So this was a seller fi deal, right? Where she
okay. So she was gonna want, I was gonna sell her financing, and I actually did end up doing that with another duplex down in Oshkosh. I used part of my 1031. I broke my 1031 up into different pieces, and
you can do that. You can do that with a 1031.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the 1031, the way that works is you only have to have, so say you sold something for 200,000, your next purchase just has to be a total of 200,000 or more. So like you could break that up.
You could buy three different duplexes for 100,000 a piece.
Correct.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can break it up. So that's what I did. I bought, I think, 2 or 3 different properties with selling. I sold one of them and bought like 2 or 3 different other properties. So that's
what span of time did you have? How much time did you have to do that?
You get 45 days to identify the properties, and then it's 180 days to sell it, or to actually close on the sale.
To close.
Yeah.
So you locked that one in with no money down.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind saying what was the interest rate on it?
3%. Yeah.
Nice.
But I gave
it's worth overpaying her.
I was gonna say
more, I know where this one is, and you paid more than you.
It was probably worth like 275 as it sat, and I paid her 315. Actually, we ended up settling on 300 because I ended up bringing money to the table because when she got there to the closing, she didn't realize they had done a special assessment on the property, years ago for sewer or roads or something. And so she was going to have to bring 10 grand to sell her duplex. And she's like, I'm not doing that. And I was like, all right, well, take 15 grand off and I'll bring 10 grand to the table. So
nice.
Ended up getting it for 15 grand less if I put 10,000 down. So it worked out.
Gotcha.
It worked out. But that's what I mean with seller financing. You can get creative all day long. And like you said, Reese, the purchase price is kind of irrelevant if you get the right terms, right?
That's what so many people miss. Like I've bid on 2 seller finance deals and I got them both, and I bid a lot higher on them, and I didn't really regret it at all, because when you put it into your calculator and how it cash flows, it really doesn't matter if you're overpaying for the property, right?
Yeah, no, I guess that makes sense. But I guess my question is, so say my concern, if I was going to sell and do seller finance, I guess my concern would be, how do I know this guy is going to actually, is actually going to pay me every month, right? Like, that would be my biggest concern, because it's different than a bank, right? I feel like I don't know, how does that work though?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think there's a trust factor, kind of like you guys in a brothership, partnership thing. I had already had a previous relationship with this seller, and I did give her money down on the previous one, and I'd been making payments to her consistently every single month since a year prior to that. So I think that helps when you go, hey, I'm not going to give you any money down. They go, well, I know this guy's good for it. He's not running to Tijuana with my property. He's going to keep making the payments. So part of that, and then it's reputation too, right? Like, I've been in this game now 7 years. A lot of the people know that this is what I do. I'm not going anywhere. It's a small town, small area. That's Wisconsin, right? I mean, most of the time unless you're in Milwaukee, Madison, where it's a little bit bigger, even there, it's still a small, tight knit community. People get, word gets out pretty quick if you're not doing things the right way. So that helps a lot in seller finance. Couple things you can do just from a security standpoint for them is I personally guarantee the note that I do with them. So it's a personal guarantee, meaning like, even if I'm doing it in my LLC, if I stop paying, they could come after all of my personal assets as well. If they want my financials, I'm happy to give them my personal financial statement, bank statements. Yeah, I don't care. I'm an open book. If I'm going to buy somebody's $300,000 property and they want my financials, great. Let's build that relationship, right? And have that trust. So those are a couple things. I know there's some other things you can work out with your attorneys. We had Sean St. Clair on a while back. He's probably the top attorney that I hear about as far as seller financing goes. So if you haven't heard that episode, go back, check that one out. But he would be a guy I'd reach out to as well if I was a seller, as far as setting up, like a deed in lieu of foreclosure type of a situation, so they can just get the keys back. Land contracts are actually probably a little more favorable for a seller, where they can speed up getting that property back versus having to go through a full foreclosure process if they have the land contract as well. So
Yeah.
a few different instruments they could do. And a lot of that stuff, if you know you're good for it and you're not going to stop making payments and all that stuff, like it's like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, give the
For
seller
sure.
whatever they're comfortable with and get the deal done, you know. Let's talk now. So Reese, you've got one you're picking up as a flip, correct?
Yep.
And then Kyle, you've got another one outside of the partnership, right?
So yeah, me and my wife have 3 duplexes outside of the partnership. Correct.
How do you guys decide that? And like Reese, do you go to the partnership first to talk about like, hey, I want to do this one as a flip? What do you guys think? Do you want to do it, not do it? Like how have you guys set that up for each of you to do your own thing, but also still have this partnership rolling?
Reese, we kind of have a good idea where we're all at in our lives. Like for this last one, I think I bought it the same week Kyle had his first child. So it wasn't great timing there. And I wanted, this one's closer to where I live, so it made more sense for me. But most of the time I'll bring it to, like, if it's multifamily, if it's something long-term, that's kind of our niche, I think, as a family.
Cool.
I would bring it to these guys first.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Kyle, what about for you with those duplexes and stuff? Like what's
I think it's more of just, typically we bring it to the partnership first, right? And then if we feel like we want to go in it together, great. If not, there's 2 of them where my one brother it wasn't a good timing for him. I don't think it was good timing for you either, Reese, because Reese just got done with school. He was paying off some college debt. So I think we typically bring it to the, and Reese finds a lot of the deals, and we typically, just kind of text in our group chat, like, what are we thinking? And if none of us want in, then maybe we just pass on the property altogether, or maybe, one of us wants, then we just kind of go that way. So typically we kind of bring it to the partnership if it's a long-term deal, like we've done in the past. But like, we're so fresh at this and new at this, Corey. Like, I mean, I think, sky's the limits. Like I'm super excited for Reese picking up this one that he's going to flip here. And, maybe that's something we can bring into the fold with our partnership, see how this one plays out and, kind of go from there.
Cool. Do you guys see the partnership, just kind of not dissolving in the sense of the future management piece, but as far as future acquisitions go, where like you guys are like, okay, cool. Cause it sounds like you guys use this as a vehicle to give yourself all comfort to get into the game. You feel like now that you've kind of gotten in the game and you get your feet wet, that maybe now or in sometime in the near future, it'll be like Kyle does his thing, Reese does his thing, Colin does his thing. And then
I'm curious to see what Kyle says on this first.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, Reese. I'm curious what you have to say too. I think I like the partnership a lot because it's just like, I utilize Colin so much and I utilize Reese so much in terms of stuff that I don't want to have to deal with. Right. So like some of me thinks, honestly, before this kid, I might've said, yeah, maybe I could see us going more the other way, but now it's like, I really lean on those guys a lot. Right.
Sure.
So like, and I think, what I kind of envision too, I think as we grow more and more, I think the partnership is going to be much more advantageous for those bigger deals. If we we start going to maybe an 8-plex, if we go to a 16-plex, like I don't want to deal with that myself. Yeah. I want to have Reese and Colin on that. So I think maybe these smaller side-by-sides. Yeah. I think I like the cash flow of just me getting it selfishly. Right. But I think the bigger, if we grow this to, we're dealing with, bigger, all under the same roof, I would much rather go partnership just because why not? Right.
Yeah.
Reese, where are you at with that?
Yeah. That's exactly.
You're just getting all selfish now. Just going
I like that.
Exactly
I'm playing mediator over here. This is great.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I like that the idea of once we get them all under one roof, right? Most of the time, if you're into a 16, 32 unit, you're getting other investors, just for the down payment. You're not, Correct. You're going with other people. So why not do it with the people that I know and love best, right?
For sure.
Correct. Yeah.
And there's the old saying, we can go further, faster together kind of a thing, or I don't know how the saying goes, but something to that, if some kind of cliche, something about that, doing that kind of thing. Now, another way you guys are looking at possibly partnering is doing some private money lending, right? Talk a little bit about where that's at and how that conversation started.
Yeah, I think the same way I look at private money is the same way I look at seller financing, right? A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to ask my family, my friends for money, right? That's weird. Talking about money with family is weird.
Yeah.
And it's this, this is such an opportunity for my family, right? For Kyle making 4% in his bank account. Hey, if you lend me, for 6 months, this amount of money that's sitting in your bank account earning 4%, I'll give you 8, and I'll be happy as hell to give you 8%. And there won't be closing costs on that. So many ways to save money, especially comparing it to like hard money.
For sure.
Yeah, I think Reese said right now, I'm not the next 2, 3, 4 months, I'm really not in the position to go purchase a property with a newborn baby and all this. So, we're talking about, my money, I've got some chunk of change sitting in the bank earning 3 to 4%. Why not give it to Reese?
Right.
Let him go do his thing and I can earn 7 to 8%. And, he's getting a deal because he's not having to go to a hard money lender. So I think it's advantageous for both of us. It just depends. I think it depends where you're at though, right? Where you're at with your circumstances.
For sure. It might be just like a good timing opportunity, but not a forever type of like, we're going to keep being a private money lender. It might just be in this moment of time. Well, I got this baby over here. I'll get this money get my money to work a little bit harder for me out there. Yeah, that's great. And what I love, Reese, you said this, like a lot of times there's a stigma just from our childhoods or whatever era our parents grew up in, from their depression baby parents or whatever the case is, right? Like, you didn't talk about money with family and whatever. And so a lot of investors I hear is like, gosh, I don't have any money. How am I going to get started in real estate? I'm like, well, do you know anyone? Like, do you know any other humans? You do. Okay. Well, my guess is they either have money or they know another human that has money earning probably less than 4%.
You know how many people have HELOCs right now after the past 5 years of what real estate done? Anyone who bought real estate or bought their house more than 5 years ago has a lot of equity in their home. Right. And, they can get it for 7%. You can pay them 9%, and I'm sure they'd be happy.
For sure. So. Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of ways to use people. It's just got to get outside your comfort zone. For a lot of people, it's not comfortable. And what I coach people on is, you don't ask them for money. You say, hey, I've got an opportunity. I'm buying a property. Yeah. Do you or anybody got any money sitting on the sidelines, not earning anything and want to make a better return? Most people are going to, if they have any cash, they're going, what do you got going on? Like, they want to get involved in it, right? Especially if they know, like, and trust you. Another thing I hear a lot of times, people ask me, hey, who are your private lenders? Like, I need some money. And I'm like, they're not going to lend you. They don't know you. It's a relationship thing in the private money game. So it's got to be friends or family. And it's an opportunity. Like you said, it's not one taking from the other. Kyle, you're going to benefit from having cash sitting there, not earning a bunch. Reese is going to benefit from not having to use a hard money lender. And you guys both win in this scenario. So it's a great win-win situation. So I love that. Last question for you guys. It's kind of a fun one, and we'll wrap it up here. We do this on every episode. So if you guys have listened to any of these, you're going to, you know what's coming, baby. We got to,
I got it already.
We got to honor the great state of Wisconsin here. Reese, favorite Wisconsin tradition or place to visit, sir?
My favorite Wisconsin tradition, and I think I speak for Kyle and I both, brought some props here. Watching my Minnesota Vikings on 2 times this year take down the Packers, and then go into my work meetings and be able to talk about it with all my fellow Wisconsinites.
Yeah, prior to this podcast, Reese was our head dispo agent, and we might have to have a talk about whether or not he's still employed at WDP.
Yeah.
I don't know if you recognize his hat too, Kyle.
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay, Kyle, are you also a Queens fan here?
I am.
Oh my gosh! How did
raising baby Julian to be a Vikings fan as well?
Jeez. I can't believe we didn't have this on our screening questionnaire when we were interviewing for Reese to join the team. All right, Kyle, can you give me something other than Vikings here? So
I'll give you so Eagle River, Wisconsin. We always my parents actually. We've been going up there since we were kids, and my parents just moved up there, built their dream home up in Eagle River on Cranberry Lake. So going up there in the summers and skiing, wakeboarding, hanging out.
Nothing beats that, man.
Best place in the world.
Nothing beats that area. Yeah. That's one of my favorite places too. Well, this has been awesome, guys. Other than Reese putting on the Viking stuff, this has been a great episode. thanks for hanging in with us. If you guys stuck around to get through the internet issues here up in Fish Creek, Wisconsin, we got, we're still a little behind the times up here, but appreciate you guys hanging out, listening to this. Brown boys, appreciate you being on and taking some time to drop some knowledge bombs on this audience. And if people want to get a hold of you, Kyle, and ask you any questions about what you got going on, do you have a best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, for sure. Just shoot me a text or a call, 920-973-9324. I'm always down to talk real estate, and I'm sure if you're calling, I'm probably going to learn more from you than you learn from me, but it'll be a good
Nice. Reese, what about you, man? What do you want to drop on here for the audience?
Oh, you already know, Corey. They know where to go. Wisconsin Discount Properties is going to be my plug here. So.
Yeah. WisconsinDiscountProperties.com. And if you guys are out there and you're listening and you're out of state and you're like, man, I've been looking for another market to get into and I want to learn more about investing in Wisconsin, give us a call or just go on the website, WisconsinDiscountProperties.com, and fill out a little contact us form. You'll probably hear from myself or Connor or Reese when you fill that out. And there's no obligation for you to buy anything or start getting in deals or anything. We just really want to get to know you and see if we can help you start investing here. Or if you're in Wisconsin and you're listening to this and you're like, man, I want to be like these Brown boys and start getting in on some deals. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to. You said hard money. I don't know who's the hard money people I got to just go to the website, fill it out, and we'll get you connected to all the right people to help you get started in your journey. And guys, we're going to have another great episode coming up next week. So thanks for tuning into this one. And if you had a good experience here, you got some value out of it, please share the episode. Sharing is caring, folks, as I always say. And the more earballs we can get this into, earballs, is that a real thing? Ear holes, more ear holes we can get this into, the more people we can help get started in this awesome journey that we all are so passionate about, we love. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you on the next episode.